Story 1. I've been volunteering at Riverside Community Garden for 3 years now, ever since I moved to the city after finishing my environmental science degree. What started as a way to connect with nature in an urban setting became my passion project. The garden provides fresh produce for families who can't afford grocery store prices, teaches kids about sustainable agriculture, and creates a peaceful green space in our concrete neighborhood. The community garden operates on 2.5 acres of city-owned land that was converted from a vacant lot. We have 87 individual plots rented by families, plus shared spaces for composting, tool storage, and educational programs. Members pay a small annual fee that covers water, basic tools, and soil amendments. Everyone contributes 4 hours of volunteer work monthly to maintain common areas and help with community events. My background in environmental science made me a natural fit for the garden's educational committee. I help organize workshops on organic farming techniques, lead school groups through our demonstration plots, and coordinate our seed library program. It's rewarding work that combines my academic knowledge with hands-on community service. The problem started on a warm Saturday morning in late May. I was working in our demonstration herb garden, preparing for a weekend workshop on companion planting. The garden was busy with the usual weekend crowd, families tending their plots, kids playing in the designated areas, and volunteers working on shared projects. Around 10 a.m., I noticed a woman entering the garden with a large German Shepherd that wasn't on a leash. Our posted rules clearly state that pets must be leashed at all times, but I figured she might be new and didn't realize the policy. I walked over to introduce myself and politely mentioned the leash requirement. Good morning. I'm one of the volunteer coordinators. Welcome to Riverside Community Garden. I noticed your dog isn't leashed. We do require all pets to be on leash for safety reasons. Karen, leashes are oppressive to animals. My dog needs to experience authentic nature connection through unrestricted movement. I understand that perspective. But we have small children here, and some people are afraid of dogs. It's really a safety issue. Karen, my dog is perfectly trained. He's more civilized than most humans. The real problem is all these vegetables cluttering up the space. I wasn't sure I'd heard her correctly. I'm sorry, what do you mean about the vegetables? Karen, this should be an open space for spiritual connection with nature. All these organized rows of plants are blocking the natural energy flow. My dog prefers open, spiritual sniffing paths. This is a community garden specifically for growing food. The vegetables are the whole point of this space. Karen, that's a very narrow-minded view of what nature should be. Plants should grow wild and free, not in these artificial grid patterns. Her dog was already wandering toward our carrot beds, which several families had spent weeks planting and tending. Ma'am, your dog really needs to be leashed. He's heading toward our vegetable plots. Karen, he's just exploring. Dogs have instincts about where plants want to grow naturally. The German Shepherd started digging in the carrot bed, uprooting several rows of carefully planted seedlings. I hurried over to try to prevent more damage. Please call your dog away from the vegetables. Those carrots belong to the Martinez family. They've been working on that plot for months. Karen, carrots are root vegetables. They're meant to be dug up anyway. My dog is just helping with the harvesting process. These are baby plants. They won't be ready to harvest for months. Your dog is destroying weeks of work. Karen, plants don't have rights. They're just vegetation. My dog's spiritual needs are more important than some arbitrary human farming schedule. By now, other gardeners had noticed the commotion and were gathering around. The German Shepherd had moved on from the carrots and was now trampling through the lettuce beds, crushing delicate seedlings under his paws. Garden member, hey, get your dog out of our vegetables. Karen, these plants are blocking the natural energy pathways. This space should be open for dogs and their owners to commune with nature. Garden member, this is a food garden. We grow vegetables here to feed our families. Karen, that's a very materialistic approach to nature. You're imposing human agriculture concepts on what should be a free-range spiritual space. I pulled out my phone and started recording. As a volunteer coordinator, I knew we'd need documentation for any incident reports. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leash your dog and leave the garden immediately. You're causing significant property damage. Karen, property damage. These are just weeds organized in rows. Anyone can replant them. Karen's dog was now in the tomato seedling area, digging up plants that families had started from seed in their homes weeks earlier. Garden member, those tomato plants took 2 months to grow from seed. You're destroying our entire growing season. Karen, tomatoes aren't even native to this area. Your artificial agriculture is disrupting the natural ecosystem anyway. Garden member, we have permits for this garden. This is legally designated agricultural space. Karen, permits are just bureaucratic oppression of natural rights. My dog has more right to be here than your capitalist vegetable plots. The German Shepherd had now trampled through 3 different family plots, destroying carrots, lettuce, tomatoes, and herbs. Several gardeners were following behind, trying to salvage what plants they could. I'm calling Animal Control and the Parks Department. This is now property destruction and violation of city ordinances. Karen, go ahead and call them. I'll report this garden for discriminating against pet owners and restricting natural animal behavior. This is private agricultural space leased through the city. You're trespassing and allowing your animal to destroy private property. Karen, plants aren't private property. They're part of the earth. My dog is just returning them to their natural state. While I was on the phone with authorities, Karen's dog found our compost area and started digging through organic waste, scattering decomposing food scraps across the pathways. Garden member, now he's destroying our compost system too. That compost took months to develop. Karen, compost is just rotting plants anyway. You should be thanking my dog for redistributing the nutrients naturally. Animal Control arrived within 20 minutes, followed by a Parks Department supervisor. By then, Karen's dog had caused damage to 6 different family plots and scattered compost across the main walkway. Animal Control Officer, ma'am, city ordinance requires dogs to be leashed in all public spaces, including community gardens. Karen, this ordinance violates my dog's natural rights. He's just expressing authentic canine behavior. Parks Supervisor, ma'am, this is designated agricultural space. Unleashed animals that damage crops can result in fines and ban from city properties. Karen, these aren't crops. They're just random plants stuck in dirt. Anyone can replant them tomorrow. Parks Supervisor, these are registered garden plots with documented crop plantings. Your animal has caused significant damage to private agricultural investments. The Parks Supervisor walked through the damaged areas with me, taking photos and documenting the destruction. 6 families had lost weeks or months of work. The Martinez family's carrot bed was completely destroyed. The Williams family lost 30 tomato seedlings they've been nurturing since March. Parks Supervisor, ma'am, you're being cited for violation of leash laws, destruction of private property, and disruption of permitted agricultural activities. You're also banned from all city-managed community spaces for 1 year. Karen, this is discrimination against pet owners. I'm calling my lawyer. This garden is violating my rights to public space access. Animal Control Officer, public spaces have rules that everyone must follow. Your dog caused extensive property damage while unleashed, which violates multiple city ordinances. After Karen was escorted from the garden with her dog, we spent the rest of the day assessing damage and trying to salvage what we could. The community rallied together. Beautifully members shared extra seedlings, donated seeds from their personal supplies, and volunteered to help replant damaged areas. I submitted my video documentation to the Parks Department along with written statements from affected gardeners. The city reviewed everything and upheld Karen's ban from all community spaces. She tried to appeal, claiming discrimination, but the video evidence was clear. The incident actually strengthened our garden community. Families that had previously only worked their individual plots started collaborating more. We organized a solidarity planting day where everyone contributed extra seeds and seedlings to help affected members recover their growing season. Karen tried posting on social media about her treatment, claiming the garden discriminated against dog owners. But other community gardeners shared the actual story, and public opinion strongly supported the garden. Several local gardening groups even donated plants and supplies to help us recover. The Martinez family's carrots eventually grew back from the few surviving seedlings. The Williams family's replacement tomatoes produced a great harvest that fall. Karen's year-long ban sent a message that our community garden is a place where people work together to grow food, not a playground for entitled pet owners who think plants don't matter. The whole experience reminded me why community gardens are so important. They're not just about vegetables. They're about people respecting shared spaces and working together toward common goals. Story 2. I've been working as a Transportation Security Administration agent for 7 years, and I've seen every type of traveler imaginable. Business executives running late, families with screaming toddlers, elderly passengers who need extra assistance, and nervous first-time flyers. Most people understand that airport security is necessary, even if they find it inconvenient. But occasionally, you encounter someone who believes the rules simply don't apply to them. It was a typical Tuesday morning at the security checkpoint. The 8:15 a.m. flight to Chicago was boarding, and we had a steady stream of passengers moving through our lines. Everything was running smoothly until a woman in an expensive business suit came rushing up to the checkpoint at exactly 8 a.m. She was pulling a designer rolling bag and talking loudly on her phone about some business deal. Her flight was departing in 15 minutes, which meant she was cutting it extremely close even under the best circumstances. Karen, excuse me. I need to get through immediately. My flight is leaving. Me, ma'am, you'll need to get in line like everyone else. We'll process you as quickly as possible. Karen, you don't understand. I have a very important business meeting in Chicago. I can't wait behind all these peasants. I couldn't believe she'd actually used that word. The other passengers in line looked shocked and offended. Me, ma'am, we process all passengers in the order they arrive. Please take your place in line. Karen, do you have any idea who I am? I'm a senior vice president at a major corporation. I have a real job, unlike these people just going on vacation. She gestured dismissively at the other passengers, including a man in military uniform and a woman wearing scrubs who was obviously a healthcare worker. Military officer, ma'am, we all have places to be. The line moves pretty quickly. Karen, I wasn't talking to you, and I don't have time to wait behind people who don't contribute to society like I do. The healthcare worker looked incredulous. Healthcare worker, excuse me. I'm a nurse. I've been working a 12-hour shift at the hospital, and I'm trying to get home to my family. Karen, well, maybe you should have left earlier. Some of us have real responsibilities. At this point, I had to intervene before the situation escalated further. Me, ma'am, if you continue to be disruptive, I'll have to call airport security. Please take your place in line. Karen, this is ridiculous. I demand to speak to your supervisor. Me, my supervisor will tell you the same thing. Everyone goes through security in order. Karen, fine, but I'm documenting this entire harassment. She pulled out her phone and started recording, holding it up toward me and the other passengers. Karen, this is how the Transportation Security Administration treats successful business people. They're forcing me to wait behind unemployed tourists while my important meeting gets delayed. Me, ma'am, you cannot film in the security area. Please put your phone away. Karen, I have freedom of speech. I have freedom of movement. You can't prevent me from documenting government harassment. Me, recording in the security checkpoint is prohibited. Please put your phone away and get in line. Karen, I'm calling my lawyer. This is a violation of my constitutional rights. She was now shouting and waving her phone around. Other passengers were getting uncomfortable, and some were moving away from her. Karen, you people are power-hungry government bureaucrats who get off on harassing taxpayers. I pay your salary. Behind her, a distinguished older gentleman in a quiet business suit was watching the entire scene with interest. He hadn't said anything, but I could see him taking mental notes of everything Karen was doing and saying. "Me, ma'am, I'm going to call airport security if you don't calm down and follow our procedures." "Karen, go ahead, call them. I'll sue this entire airport. I'll sue the federal government. This is discrimination against successful people." She continued filming while yelling about her rights and how everyone was conspiring against her because of her success. "Karen, these minimum wage security guards think they can push around executives. Well, I've got news for you. I know my rights." The distinguished gentleman behind her finally spoke up. "Distinguished man, ma'am, I think you might want to reconsider your approach here." "Karen, and who are you?" "Another tourist trying to give me advice." "Distinguished man, I'm Judge Harrison from the Federal District Court, and I'm observing behavior that could be considered disruptive to airport operations." Karen's face went pale for a moment, but then she doubled down. "Karen, I don't care if you're the Supreme Court. I have rights, and these people are violating them." "Judge Harrison, actually, you're demonstrating several violations of federal regulations regarding airport security and disruptive behavior." "Karen, you're not even a real judge. You're probably just some old man trying to sound important." Judge Harrison calmly pulled out his credentials and showed them to me. I recognized him immediately. Judge Harrison was well known in our area and had a reputation for being fair but firm. "Me, ma'am, you need to stop filming, get in line, or leave the security area immediately." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere. This is America, and I have the right to travel." "Judge Harrison, the right to travel doesn't include the right to disrupt security operations or harass federal employees." "Karen, stop ganging up on me. This is all because you're jealous of successful people." Airport security arrived at that moment. I'd called them when Karen first started filming and refused to stop. "Security officer, what's the situation here?" "Me. This passenger is refusing to follow security procedures, filming in a restricted area, and disrupting operations." "Karen, these people are harassing me because I'm successful. I demand to be processed immediately." "Security officer, ma'am, you need to either follow our procedures or leave the checkpoint." "Karen, I'm going to sue all of you. This is government harassment. I know my rights better than any of you." Judge Harrison stepped forward and identified himself to the security officer. "Judge Harrison, officer, I've witnessed this passenger's behavior from the beginning. She's been disruptive, filming without permission, and using derogatory language toward other passengers and staff." "Security officer, thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, you need to come with me." "Karen, you can't remove me. I have a flight to catch. I have an important meeting." "Security officer, you should have thought about that before disrupting security operations." As they were escorting her away, she was still yelling about lawsuits and constitutional rights while trying to film everything on her phone. "Karen, this is kidnapping, false imprisonment. I'm going to own this airport when I'm done suing." Judge Harrison approached me after she was gone. "Judge Harrison, I'd like to file a formal complaint about that passenger's behavior. I'm also going to contact the airline about what I witnessed." "Me, thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate your support." "Judge Harrison, that kind of behavior toward federal employees and fellow passengers is completely unacceptable." The other passengers in line thanked us for handling the situation professionally. The military officer and healthcare worker both commented on how entitled some people can be. Later that day, I learned that Judge Harrison had indeed contacted the airline and filed a detailed report about Karen's behavior. The airline took his complaint very seriously, especially coming from a federal judge. Within 48 hours, Karen was placed on the airline's no-fly list pending a full investigation. The incident was also reported to the Transportation Security Administration's Behavioral Detection Unit. Karen apparently tried to book flights with other airlines, but word had spread through industry channels about her disruptive behavior at the security checkpoint. Judge Harrison's formal complaint triggered a broader review of Karen's travel history, which revealed a pattern of disruptive behavior at various airports. She had been flagged multiple times for arguing with staff and causing delays. The investigation ultimately resulted in Karen being placed on the federal no-fly list for a minimum of 1 year, with the possibility of extension depending on her future behavior. Her important business meeting in Chicago, she missed it entirely, and according to industry gossip, her company was not pleased when they learned why their senior vice president had failed to show up for a major client presentation. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Karen's insistence that she was too important to wait in line like everyone else ended up costing her the ability to fly at all. Her real job apparently didn't include understanding that actions have consequences. Judge Harrison later told me that in his 30 years on the bench, he'd rarely seen such a clear example of how entitlement and disrespect for others can lead to serious legal consequences. Sometimes the system works exactly as it should. Story 3. I've been volunteering at St. Matthew's Parish for about 3 years now, ever since I moved to the neighborhood and started attending services. It's a warm, welcoming community, and I love helping out with their various fundraising events. The charity bake sales are always my favorite, nothing too complicated, just good food and good people coming together for a worthy cause. The October bake sale was meant to raise money for the local food bank. We'd been planning it for weeks, and the response from parishioners had been amazing. People donated homemade cookies, cakes, pies, and bread. The church hall smelled incredible by Saturday morning when we started setting up. Our parish has always been clear about keeping events alcohol-free. It's not that we're against drinking. Plenty of parishioners enjoy wine with dinner or beer while watching football. But church events are meant to be family-friendly spaces where everyone feels comfortable, including people in recovery and families with young children. I was manning the cashier table with 2 other volunteers when she walked in around 11 o'clock. She came through the door carrying a large box that she set down on one of the serving tables without asking anyone. She was dressed nicely enough, but there was something about her attitude that immediately put me on edge. She had this entitled air, like she was doing us a favor by being there. Karen, where should I set up my contribution? Volunteer, oh, that's wonderful. What did you bring? Karen, I brought beverages. Everyone always forgets about drinks at these things. She opened the box and pulled out 3 large containers of boxed wine, the kind with the spout that you see at college parties. Volunteer, I'm sorry, but we can't serve alcohol at church events. Karen, it's not alcohol, it's just juice. Look, it says fruit blend right on the box. She was pointing to the small text on the side, but anyone could clearly see these were wine boxes. They had alcohol content warnings and everything. Volunteer, ma'am, these are clearly wine products. We can't serve them here. Karen, that's ridiculous. Wine is just fermented grape juice. It's basically the same thing. I walked over to help diffuse the situation. Me, I appreciate you wanting to contribute, but our church policy is very clear about not serving alcoholic beverages at events. Karen, this is discrimination against people who want to enjoy adult beverages responsibly. I spent good money on this, and you're going to serve it. Me, I'm sorry, but that's not possible. If you'd like to make a monetary donation instead, we'd be happy to accept that. Karen, I'm not giving you money when I already brought perfectly good refreshments that you're refusing to use because of some uptight religious rules. At this point, other volunteers were starting to notice the commotion. Families with children were looking over, and I could see people getting uncomfortable. Me, ma'am, these aren't uptight rules. We have children here, and people who don't drink for various reasons. We want everyone to feel welcome. Karen, children drink juice all the time, and if people don't want to drink, they don't have to. This is America. I have the right to contribute what I want. She was getting louder, and I could see parents starting to steer their kids away from our table. Volunteer, we really appreciate your desire to help, but we can't accept alcohol donations. Karen, fine, if you won't serve it properly, I'll do it myself. Before anyone could stop her, she grabbed one of the wine boxes and started working the spout, trying to pour the wine into paper cups that were meant for apple cider. Ma'am, you need to stop that right now. Karen, I'm providing a service that you people are too narrow-minded to provide yourselves. She managed to pour about 3 cups before Deacon Williams noticed what was happening and came over. He's one of the kindest, most patient men I've ever met, the type of person who can diffuse any situation with gentle words. Deacon Williams, excuse me, I think there might be some confusion here. Karen, finally, someone with authority. Tell these volunteers that they need to serve my wine contribution. Deacon Williams, I'm afraid we can't serve alcoholic beverages at church functions. It's a long-standing policy for very good reasons. Karen, are you people insane? It's just wine. Jesus drank wine. It says so in the Bible. Deacon Williams, you're absolutely right that Jesus drank wine. But this is a family fundraiser, not communion. Different context, different rules. Karen, that's the most hypocritical thing I've ever heard. You people are picking and choosing which parts of Christianity to follow. Deacon Williams, ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but I'm going to have to ask you to put the wine away and enjoy the bake sale. That's when Karen completely lost it. Karen, don't you dare patronize me. I know more about Christianity than any of you fake believers. She grabbed a cinnamon roll from the nearest table, one of those beautiful homemade ones that Mrs. Henderson had spent hours making, and hurled it directly at Deacon Williams. The cinnamon roll hit him square in the chest, leaving frosting all over his shirt and cardigan. The entire room went silent. Even the children stopped talking. Deacon Williams just stood there for a moment, looking down at the frosting on his clothes, then back at Karen. Deacon Williams, I think you need to leave now. Karen, I'm not going anywhere. I paid for those baked goods with my wine contribution. You owe me service. That's when Father Martinez appeared. He'd been in the kitchen helping with the coffee when he heard the commotion. Father Martinez, what's going on here? Several people started talking at once, but Deacon Williams just pointed to his frosting-covered shirt. Deacon Williams, she threw a cinnamon roll at me because we won't serve the wine she brought. Father Martinez looked at the wine boxes, then at Karen, then at the frosting mess. Father Martinez, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave immediately. Karen, this is religious persecution. I'm going to report this church for discrimination. Father Martinez, you just assaulted one of our deacons with baked goods. You need to leave now, or I'm calling the police. Karen, assault? It was just a cinnamon roll. You people are insane. But she finally started gathering her wine boxes, all while muttering about how we were all fake Christians who didn't understand real faith. Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer about this discrimination. As she headed for the door, still ranting, I noticed that several people had been recording the whole incident on their phones. One teenager near the back was live streaming it. After she left, we had to clean up the wine she'd spilled and get Deacon Williams a clean shirt. The rest of the bake sale went smoothly, and we actually ended up raising more money than expected. I think people were feeling extra generous after witnessing the drama. 2 days later, one of the youth group members showed me a video on social media. Someone had posted the footage of Karen throwing the cinnamon roll with the caption, "Body of Christ, Glass of Karen." It was on a page called Christian Comedy Corner and had thousands of views. The video showed everything: her insisting that boxed wine was just juice, arguing with volunteers, pouring wine at a church bake sale, and finally launching pastry at a deacon. The comments were brutal but hilarious. Father Martinez sent out a parish-wide email that week formally banning Karen from all church events. Apparently, she tried to come back the next Sunday and caused another scene when the ushers told her she wasn't welcome. The best part was that Mrs. Henderson, whose cinnamon roll had been used as ammunition, thought the whole thing was hilarious. She made another batch specifically for Deacon Williams as an apology for her pastry being weaponized. Karen, 0. Church bake sale, 1. Sometimes people who think they're above the rules end up becoming viral examples of exactly why those rules exist in the first place. Story 4. I've been teaching high school art for 12 years, and one of my favorite parts of the job is watching students discover their creative voices. Every spring, our city hosts a community art show where local artists of all ages can display their work. It's a wonderful event that brings together professional artists, hobbyists, and students to celebrate creativity in our community. This year, I was particularly excited because one of my students had created something truly special. Sarah was a quiet 14-year-old who had been struggling with confidence in her other classes, but she absolutely came alive in my art room. She'd spent months working on a landscape painting of the old oak tree behind our school. It was delicate, thoughtful, and showed real technical skill for someone her age. The painting wasn't just homework for Sarah. She told me it represented her feelings about change, as the school was planning to cut down that tree to make room for a new building. She'd poured her heart into capturing every detail of the bark, the way the light filtered through the leaves, and the peaceful feeling of sitting in its shade. When I suggested she enter it in the community art show, her face lit up. She'd never displayed her work publicly before, and the idea both thrilled and terrified her. "Sarah, do you really think it's good enough to show with real artists?" "Miss Sarah, you are a real artist. This painting shows genuine talent and emotional depth. The community needs to see what you can do." The art show setup was held on a Friday evening in the community center. I helped Sarah hang her painting in the student section, making sure it was properly labeled with her name, age, and the title she'd chosen, "Goodbye, Old Friend." The piece was modestly priced at $40, not because it wasn't worth more, but because Sarah wanted to make it affordable for someone who would truly appreciate it. She wasn't interested in making money, she just wanted to share her art. The show opened Saturday morning, and I stopped by to see how things were going. Sarah was there with her parents, nervously watching people examine her painting. Several visitors had complimented her work, and I could see her confidence growing with each positive comment. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. The show ran through Sunday evening, with a closing reception where winners would be announced. Sarah didn't win any prizes, but she sold her painting, which made her incredibly happy. On Monday morning, Sarah came to my classroom in tears. "Sarah, someone used a fake name to buy my painting. The check bounced, and now no one knows where it is." I was confused and asked her to explain what happened. Apparently, the purchase sheet showed that someone named Jessica Thompson had bought Sarah's painting for $40 and left contact information. But when the show organizers tried to process the payment, they discovered the check was written on a closed account, and the phone number was disconnected. Did anyone see who took the painting? Sarah, the volunteers said they remember a woman picking it up on Sunday, but they didn't think to ask for ID since she had the purchase receipt. I felt terrible for Sarah. Not only had her first art show experience been ruined, but someone had essentially stolen her work. Show organizer, we've never had anything like this happen before. Most people who attend our shows are genuinely interested in supporting local artists. I promised Sarah we'd figure out what happened to her painting. I started by checking social media groups for local art enthusiasts, thinking maybe someone had seen the piece or knew something about the mysterious buyer. A week later, I was browsing online marketplace listings when I nearly choked on my coffee. There was Sarah's painting, listed for $400 with a completely fabricated story. The listing read, "Rare find, lost masterpiece by unknown artist, discovered at estate sale. Oil on canvas, appears to be from the 1970s based on technique and aging. Perfect for serious collectors looking for investment pieces. This has all the hallmarks of a piece that could appreciate significantly in value." The seller was using the name Art Collector 47 and had posted several photos of Sarah's painting, but had removed the original signature and title from the corner. I took screenshots of everything and immediately called the police. The investigating officer seemed skeptical at first. Art theft isn't exactly common in our small city, but when I showed him the evidence, he took it very seriously. Officer Martinez, do you have any proof that this is your student's work? Me. I have photos of her creating it in my classroom, plus documentation from the art show with her signature and title. I also had photos from the art show that clearly showed Sarah's name and the original title on the piece. The online listing had obviously been altered to remove this identifying information. The officer contacted the online marketplace, and they were surprisingly cooperative. They provided the seller's account information, which led us to an address across town. When the police went to investigate, they found a woman named Karen who initially claimed she'd bought the painting legitimately at an estate sale. But when pressed for details about which estate sale and when, her story kept changing. Officer Martinez, ma'am, we have evidence that this painting was stolen from the community art show last Sunday. Karen, that's impossible. I bought this at an estate sale months ago. Officer Martinez, the paint is still wet in some areas. This was clearly created recently. Karen, well, maybe I was mistaken about when I bought it, but I paid for it fair and square. Officer Martinez, do you have a receipt from this estate sale? Karen, I don't keep receipts for small purchases. When the officer showed her the original photos of the painting with Sarah's signature, Karen finally admitted she'd taken it from the art show. Karen, look, that little girl wasn't a real artist anyway. She probably just copied it from somewhere else. I was going to give it a proper home with someone who could appreciate real art. Officer Martinez, ma'am, you're admitting to theft and fraud. Karen, it's not theft. I left money for it. Officer Martinez, you left a fake name and a bad check. That's theft by deception. The officer recovered Sarah's painting, which was thankfully undamaged except for Karen's attempt to remove the signature. An art restoration expert was able to help us restore Sarah's name to the corner. Karen was charged with theft by deception and fraud. The online marketplace banned her account and cooperated fully with the investigation. But the story didn't end there. Word spread quickly through the local art community about what had happened. Karen had apparently been a regular at art shows and galleries, and people started sharing stories about her inappropriate behavior. One gallery owner remembered her questioning the legitimacy of student artwork and suggesting that young artists were just copying real artists. Another recalled her trying to negotiate prices down by claiming the artists were amateurs who should be grateful for any sale. The community art show organizers were horrified by what had happened and immediately implemented new security measures. They also banned Karen from all future events. Gallery owner, we can't have someone in our community who steals from children and tries to profit from it. Art is about supporting creativity, not exploiting young artists. The most satisfying part came when local media picked up the story. A reporter interviewed Sarah about her experience, and the article highlighted both the theft and the community's response to support young artists. The publicity actually helped Sarah more than the original art show would have. Several local collectors reached out wanting to see more of her work, and she received a small scholarship to attend a summer art program. Sarah, I can't believe someone thought my painting was good enough to steal. In a weird way, I guess that's a compliment. Karen, meanwhile, faced not just legal consequences but social ones. The local art community is small, and word travels fast. She was effectively blacklisted from galleries, art shows, and even craft fairs throughout the region. The charges against her resulted in community service, restitution, and probation. Part of her community service was specifically related to arts education. She had to volunteer at elementary schools, helping with art projects, under supervision. Art show director, maybe working with young artists will help her understand what she damaged. These kids put their hearts into their work. Sarah kept creating art throughout high school and ended up getting into a prestigious art college with a full scholarship. She never forgot the experience of having her work stolen, but she says it taught her that her art was valuable enough that someone would risk breaking the law to possess it. As for the painting itself, Sarah decided to keep it rather than sell it again. It hangs in her bedroom now, a reminder of both the violation she experienced and the community that rallied to support her. The incident also led to lasting changes in how our local art shows operate. They now require photo ID for all purchases, have better security monitorings, and maintain detailed records of all transactions. Most importantly, it reinforced something I always tell my students: your art matters, your voice matters, and there are people in this world who will go to great lengths to protect and support young artists. Unfortunately, there are also people who will try to exploit them, but the art community is usually pretty good at identifying and dealing with those individuals. Karen learned the hard way that stealing from a child doesn't just make you a thief, it makes you an enemy of an entire community of people who believe in nurturing creativity and protecting young artists.